Warm welcome here on Canal de English, and the program is The Forum. Our guest today is Chief Mrs Ada Kesi. She's barrister at law and also proprietress of two schools. The first is the Mother Teresa College and also the Bilingual Kindergarten and Primary School located in Bonaberi here in Douala. Why is she our guest today? Is to talk about the 25th and 30th anniversaries of both institutions, and also to talk a little bit about herself. But she doesn't often like to talk about herself, but promote what she is doing, and those are the reasons why we are receiving her today. And please do not go away. We shall be right back after this. A very warm welcome here on Canal de English, and the program is The Forum. As I announced at the introduction of this program, our guest today is Chief Mrs Ada Kesi. She is the proprietress of two schools, the Mother Teresa College and the Kindergarten and Primary Schools located here in Douala, precisely at Bonaberi. Madam, it's a pleasure to have you here today as guest.
Thank you very much. I'm very grateful for you receiving me.
Okay, so how are you doing?
Fine, thank you. And you?
I'm doing fine as well.
Okay.
Well, at the introduction, I said you are a barrister at law.
Yes.
Well, which of the bars are you? The Cameroonian bar or an external bar?
I'm from the British bar.
Okay.
Actually, I was trained in England. I did my LLB. And then went into law school, the Council of Legal Education in Holborn in London, and did the bar. And after that, I did an MA in comparative law. And from then, I came back to Cameroon. Here in Cameroon, I tendered my documents to join the Cameroon bar, but something happened. My children had no schools because the schools in Cameroon or in Douala here were non-available. So what I did was to start a play school in my veranda where I lived in Daido Highway. And I started a school for them there, two of them. One was 3 and another was 1. So because the Francophone schools that were available at that time, they didn't have a procedure of teaching. So children went to school and played all the time and slept and came home. So I couldn't cope with that. So I started that little thing, not as a school, but as a play school for my 2 children. I employed 2 teachers, a French teacher and an English teacher, to teach them. And during this period, it was nothing just to keep the children going. Friends heard about it and they said I must be joking, that they too are looking for somewhere to put their children. I said, this is not a school. But they said, well, your children are there. So they brought their own kids. So they brought 8 more kids, and they were now 10. And they went through a year instruction in French and in English. And after this, they kept asking, what will happen to these children?
Exactly, which means that your interest in education began first with your own children.
Yes.
And could you tell us precisely when was that, the year in particular?
Yes, the year was 1985.
1985.
Yes.
Okay, that was 1985 when you began a kind of experimentation with your own children.
It was not an experimentation. I just wanted the children to have a tuition of some sort. So I just thought, since the schools which were available were not of the type that I wanted, so I thought, why don't I just have 2 teachers to train my own children right here at home?
Okay, I'm sorry to interrupt you somewhere, but when you say the schools did not have the type of teachings or the type of, the system that you wanted, what type of system did you want?
They were all Francophonized.
Exactly.
And there was no Anglo-Saxon education at all.
Yeah.
So I had to use my own idea to just start this play school for my 2 kids only. I had no intention of starting a school. It wasn't in my agenda at all. But as I said, when others had it, They brought in 8 children. In those days, we had no television broadcasting in this Cameroon, and the radio people heard about it. The journalists were so delighted, and they came, covered the Christmas show that we had. And it was a big thing. It was on the newspaper, on the radio, and everybody said, oh, that's a school. Only me alone knew there was no school here.
You knew. That was in Deido. And now tell us a little bit how it migrated or it left from Deido and went to Bonaberi.
Okay, the teacher, well, the parents pressurized me. They wanted a school, so I had no other reason rather than to go to Bonaberi and look for a plot. I didn't want a place in the town because it would be so crowded. I looked for a plot in Mabanda and bought it, and then I started building the school, and the parents were the ones who were supervising the building. Everybody was part of the whole show, and it was so interesting. And by September 1985, we had got a school, and the school now has to transfer itself from Daido to Bonaberi. But there was something. Most of these parents were scattered all over Douala. And how do they get to school? What is the communication mark? So
yes, that is something. Before we come to that, on that aspect, because I think you are a pioneer in a number of things. I think basically 2 things that you did to distinguish yourself with other proprietors or proprietress of schools. But now, it was something. It was first, which I want to emphasize. It was first your kids.
Yes.
It attracted others to come. And now, how did you get the names? That's the thing. When you went to Bonaberi, which did you start first? Was it the primary, the bilingual primary and kindergarten, or was it Mother Teresa?
No. Bilingual kindergarten and primary school, because of the kindergarten that had started.
Yeah.
So since I needed the children to be instructed in both English and French, so we continued like that. We got our authorization from the government, and that was a school. But there was something that had to happen for the school to move on.
To move. Now, you said along the line that, yes, you wanted an Anglo-Saxon education for your kids.
Yes.
And other Anglo-Saxons, so people who have an Anglo-Saxon orientation came in, followed you. Now, they are scattered all over the city of Douala.
Yes.
How or what did you put or make that now could facilitate them to take their children to Bonaberi?
It was quite difficult for the parents, and I didn't allow the difficulty to overwhelm them. So what I did was to put in place a bus service. It was the first bus service, I should think, in Cameroon, because no one knew that you can pick up children at home and take them to school.
And where did you get the inspiration?
I got it from England and from Nigeria. It was quite a welcome idea, because I myself still lived in Daido anyway. So we needed this bus service, and it was such a great establishment because many parents were very, very happy to have their children taken by bus to school and be brought back. And of course, the drivers in those days didn't know the procedure, and I had to sit on those buses to make sure that the children were safe, and also to tuition the drivers to know the courtesy and the love that you show to children. It took me 2 years to do this.
To train those drivers?
To train the drivers, and I stayed on those buses.
Wow. Now, let me ask you another question. Your children got the Anglo-Saxon education.
And the Francophone.
In a way, it seems as if you are a kind of pioneer in bilingualism. And another question that begs to be asked is, how did you have such an inspiration, or where did you get it?
The thing is that Cameroon has a very good idea of bilingualism, but the problem is the teaching, the establishing. So at the end of the day, I thought if I ensure that this is well done, it will catch on. And it did. So I established the Francophone, not necessarily putting a Francophone side, but just the two sections mingled itself together. That is, a teacher The French teacher enters the class, teaches French in the subject, goes out, and English teacher goes on. So you just had French, English done together. That's a system that just came by inspiration. And I want to tell you this. By 1986, the government had decided that all primary schools should establish itself in French, which primary schools which are Anglophonized. And we were already far gone with this. And our procedure was not known. They didn't know what we were doing, because what they did was French part and English part. What we did was we coordinated the two parts, and it worked so well. So every single child who left school spoke French and English fluently.
Has any person from the Ministry of Education come to you or visited your school to have a kind of inspiration or an example from you to go and put it somewhere?
Yeah. The first group of people who came were Canadian educationists. And when they came to the school, they said, wow, they can't believe it. They can't believe the system I put in place.
So for the Canadians who came first?
Yes, they came first. And they were so happy, and they left us with many books. And the second time, the Minister of Education came. He came to the school, and when he conversed with the children in English, they spoke fluently in French. The man couldn't believe it. And then the name of the school, kindergarten, is German, and he was trained in Germany. He was so happy, very, very excited with what we were doing. And it's caught on. I think the system has caught on. I don't know how well it has caught on, but today the primary school is writing in both languages in their common entrance and the first school living certificate.
And what are the success rates?
Perfect.
Perfect. You have
Perfect.
about 60,
because our
70%.
own children had no problem at all.
At all.
Yes.
Yeah, and the question I wish, yes, now, about the success, you say perfect succession. Is it 50% success, 70%?
No, 100%.
100%.
Yes. And when the children left school to secondary schools, everywhere that they went, they were the best in French, in English, because they knew everything.
They had a foundation
yes,
already.
a great foundation.
Now, when we talk about bursing, you seem to be the pioneer in bursing. And now when you look at the situation of bursing today, other schools who are trying to follow into your footpath, what is your impression?
Well, my impression is that it has become like a passenger car where they are actually taking children, like you go to a motor park and people just enter the car and everyone is going. In my school, we don't do that. We have a teacher who sits with the children in the buses and actually, goes on with nursery rhymes and jokes and things, allow the children to speak and interact. Sometimes you get into the bus, you think that the children can't speak a word of English. And before you know, you think they can't speak a word of French, because they are like continuously interacting,
Okay.
And that's it.
Now we've spoken a lot about the bilingual kindergarten primary school, right?
Yes.
Opened in 1985.
Yes.
Which means you'll be celebrating your 30th anniversary.
That's right.
And when would that be, the 30th anniversary?
On the 29th of December.
29th of December.
This
month.
This December.
This
yes.
December, that's 30 years.
Yes.
And let's talk about Mother Teresa. When was it created?
Mother Teresa was created 1990, 5 years later, because again, we were looking at situations of the children leaving that school and going to nowhere because of what we have already banked on. So we had to create Mother Teresa College, not only as a secondary school, but as a boarding secondary school. And that was in the outskirts of Bonaberi.
So a boarding school here in Douala?
Yes.
At Bonaberi?
25 years ago. Yeah. And we went to a place called Nguele Forest in Douala and created this beautiful school. We need to be there.
We need to be there to see.
Yes,
Now, is your school a kind of populist or an elitist school?
No, not necessarily. Actually, when we first started the primary school, it was, you know, the white-collar workers who had their children in the school. In those days, salaries were large and people could pay whatever they could. But after some time, you have to give back to society what society helped you to do. So we had to reduce the fee in order to get the ladies who are doing the telephone sales on the road, or women who sell gari, to bring their children.
Really?
Yes, yes. That is, I am a philanthropist as well.
A philanthropist as well.
Yeah.
But don't you think, or tell us, what miracle do? You had a higher tuition fees.
Yeah.
You decided to bring it down.
Yes.
And doesn't the quality suffers?
No, the quality doesn't suffer because you are still working with the same people you worked for. In fact, I have a headmaster who has been there for 30 years. So they've not changed.
Okay. One question I wish to ask you that your school is quite known, well respected, but there is a question that a person, when I produced online, and they said you have a lot of foreigners attending your school, really? And do you give special consideration to foreigners at the detriment of Cameroonians?
No, 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 not at all. The foreigners, I was the first again to start getting foreigners in the school, because all the Nigerians who were here had their children only in that school, in the primary school. And then when we moved to Mother Teresa College, we now extended to places like Gabon, Congo, and Equatorial Guinea.
Really?
Yeah, we normally clock about 100 children from Equatorial Guinea alone.
And now tell us, that's interesting, something I never knew.
Yes.
Then how do you do to make your school, I think it's a Cameroonian success, a Cameroonian school to attract students or pupils from without Cameroon, that is from Equatorial Guinea, Congo, and Gabon?
Yeah. The thing is that, as I said, proximity is another thing. You know, the Equatorial Guineans, they lack the kind of resources that we have. They may be very rich, but they don't have the know-how and the wherewithal. They don't have. So the head of the school, because it's on the net, the head of the school.
You have a website?
Yes, we have a
which is
website.
Extraordinary.
So, and so they decided to come and see. And because if you come to see, you will see what you want to see and not what you don't want to see. And they knew they could leave their children with us and go away and the children would be fine. And they did. So it complements the children from Cameroon and that from the foreign aspect. They complement each other. The children from Equatorial Guinea even teaches the Cameroon children the Spanish language. And then when they come, most of them and 99% cannot speak French, neither French nor English. So we have another school set in place where they come, but they will be in Form 1, but they will attend that school. And they are very bright people. You will be so surprised. So they normally come out with 10, 11 papers in O levels and 5 A levels.
And when they come there, they succeed and then leave and go abroad or go back to their respective countries.
Yes.
Now, you are here, madam, because both schools are celebrating their anniversaries.
Yes.
The Mother Teresa is 25th anniversary, while the Bilingual Kindergarten Primary School is a 30th anniversary. What will be so special on that day?
What's so special on that day is first, before that day, in advance, the ex-students have been the most important aspect of these celebrations, because they've worked hard for 1 year trying to make it work. It was not me, it was they. And so everything has been put in place. In fact, we had to get a wrapper material from CCAM, you know, with our logo on it, our celebration logo, with the ages of the schools. And then right now, at the moment, they have invited Ndedi Eyango.
The Cameroon musician.
A Cameroon musician who loves children very much, because he has a charity for the Boko Haram children who are suffering from in the north. So he has a charity, and the children thought he was doing a very good job in this charity, and they brought him in, and he was very happy to come on board. And he will also have an accolade. He will win an award because one of our ex-students has a UMA program in England. He was the first to start a UMA, that is Urban Music Award. It is now all over the world, but he was the first. He started at the age of 20.
Really?
Yes,
in England?
In England. And he still is still in England.
Could you tell us his name? It's important for Cameroonians to understand.
Yes, his name is Jordan Kessington Kesi.
Okay.
Yes, that is his name. He's my son. One of the members who started the kindergarten.
Okay. Now he has grown up and
yes, he's grown up because he was born there, and then they came here. They started the kindergarten and went through Mother Teresa College, and then went back. So you see, they were now fixed up. They had all the power, energy, all the knowledge to be able to cope with England, with what they said.
Now, I wish to ask you another question, which, because you are into philanthropy.
Yeah.
What really made you to go into philanthropy?
Okay, before I get to philanthropic situation, I should say again that the alumni of Mother Teresa College and BKPS wants to strike a balance between themselves, you know, the ex-students and the young ones who are still coming up. And on that day, they are going to launch their program of charity because they want to sponsor some children in the school, the underprivileged children. So I think that is a great thing for young people to do in a society. Okay. So you asked me about the philanthropic aspect. Well, the thing is, when I first came to this country, I found out that because I'm not from Nigeria, but I was married. My husband came from there.
Nigeria.
I was trying to compare Nigeria with Cameroon, and I saw that Cameroonians haven't got a philanthropic heart. At the time, the people were so me, myself, and you know, and so with the background that I had, I had to just start doing the things that I had to do in order to cope with my own life. And because if you give, God loves you better than you would think. The idea, the aspect of giving is not getting, it's just being blessed by God. So when you give, you start getting so much assurance from God that He loves you. And if God loves you, why don't you love somebody else? Why don't you even see the person who is suffering and support? Even just a word. You don't need money. You know, somebody might be threatening to commit suicide, and you just ask them, are you okay? And that just stops everything. Okay. We didn't have that going on in this country, I can tell you this.
So I think as far as philanthropy is concerned, you're also like one of the precursors. You began also, or you contributed.
I would not know whether others were doing, but I just did mine.
You did yours.
And I just want to thank God that many people are being philanthropic today in this country. And
now let me actually, since you were the pioneer in promoting Anglo-Saxon on bilingual education as well, what is your impression? This is the first and only, this year we don't speak French because we think the proprietor, Mr. Chachue Emmanuel, felt that we should have a fully fledged English-speaking channel. What is your opinion about it?
In fact, I was very delighted when I went to the other section and they told me, no, go to the English section. I said, what? So these people have two channels and they have separated. I said it was wonderful. You don't know how I felt just walking from that area to this place. I was so elated. I'm so impressed. I just want you to use this opportunity. I want to use this opportunity to thank your proprietor for doing what he has done. He's a wonderful person. Okay. May God bless him.
Okay, he's a wonderful person. He likes the Anglophones of this country. That is the reason why he felt that he should have a channel for the Anglophone. But
yes.
I know you are here to talk about philanthropy, to talk also about the 30th and 25th anniversaries of your schools.
Yes.
If somebody who is not in Cameroon and who is impressed about the bilingual nature of Cameroon and who want to send his children here, do you have a website? Do you have the links of your website off-head?
Yes, no, I don't have it off-head. But we have a website. You get Mother Teresa. You have www.motherteresa.com, Cameroon. You know, Mother Teresa is from Calcutta.
From Calcutta,
so
yes.
if you look at the website, you see Mother Teresa, but ours is Mother Teresa College, Cameroon.
Exactly.
Yes, you can't miss it.
And one final word before we round off to this our program this morning. One final word to those who may be watching you. What message do you have for women like you and for others who might want to walk into your footsteps?
Many have walked into my footsteps. Thanks be to God for actually bringing me to Cameroon. Because many women went solo, and they couldn't if I didn't go solo to start schools. Because everybody in Cameroon thinks that to start any business alone, it won't work. But when they saw me start the business of the school, you can see that 80% of those who own schools are women, and they took the league from me. So I just want to thank God for that. I want to thank God for using me as an instrument in his hand in order to bring a next eye in this country. You know, we don't show off for what we've done, but for anything that you do, you have to do it with all your heart. In fact, school business is not a business. It's a philanthropic business. You got to love the children. You got to give your all. You have to be with them. You have to make them to look like you, or to look better and get better than you. And that is what I'm getting today.
Thank you very much, Chief Mrs. Ada Kesi. May I remind televiewers that she is the proprietress of Mother Teresa College and also Bilingual Kindergarten and Primary School here in Douala, precisely at Bonaberi. Well, you've heard she's doing it because of philanthropy. It's not a matter of show and tell. Please do not go away. Stay tuned or keep on watching programs on Canal de English. And soon here will be Stone Quarters, that is our own Pidgin English or Pidgin language newscast.
Wow.